Hello, Bible boys.
Hello, hello, Bible friends
It's the,
from all across the world.
all across the world. It's the end of March.
Yeah,
It's a nice sunny day here in Sapporo.
yeah, we don't have any snow anymore. And yeah, I went to Kyoto and Osaka recently.
You did, right?
Yeah, and
How's that?
it was good. It was warm, which was like I was like
Refreshing?
this is what it feels like to just be in a normal place.
Yeah. Haven't felt this in half a year.
It was fun. It was really nice. It was the first time I've been to Osaka and Kyoto. So
Oh,
it was
really?
like,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. It was kind of like seeing like the Japan
Yeah.
that like I haven't seen whilst being in Hokkaido. It was cool.
Did you see the bloody floorboard temples?
No, we didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
No, we had quite a short time. So
Right.
there was one day we basically had one full day in Kyoto where
Ah, shit. Okay.
we just walked around everywhere. We ended up walking like 20 kilometers,
Fair enough.
just like loads of different places. There was a very cool a friend recommended me this dormitory in Kyoto University called Yoshida-ryo, and it's like the oldest currently operating student dormitory in
Right.
Japan. I think it was built in like 1943, and you can like go to the place. It's this super old. You can't go inside because people are living there, but it's this super old like wooden building, and there's like I don't know. There's just like trash and shit everywhere. It's like
Awesome.
very very like I don't know. I don't know. Very kind of free place, I guess. It doesn't feel like anywhere else in Japan really, and it definitely doesn't feel like part of Kyoto.
You did the hipster Kyoto trip.
No. I mean, I guess so. So the underbelly of Japan. No, not really.
Okay.
Anyway, that's completely unrelated. But if you go to Kyoto, go to Yoshida-ryo. It's fun.
Got it. Okay. We're talking about Genesis today. Again. We left off at Genesis 4. So we're picking up from Cain and Abel now.
Mm-hmm.
Any pretext, or do we just straight go into the text here?
Well, yeah, I don't know. There's not that much to say really, aside from, this is we're coming to the end of like the first, like quote unquote half of Genesis, which is like the primeval age.
The first half, which makes about an eighth of the text.
Yes, yeah. So the first main chunk of the two chunks of Genesis. And there are basically three very familiar stories: Cain and Abel, Noah's Ark, and the Tower of Babel as well. So I think there's a lot to talk about. And yeah, I think maybe same as last time, we'll just go through it, kind of comb through it and see where we get to.
Sweet. Okay. Well, to just drop us right into it.
Yeah.
First line in my translation is, "And the man knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord. And she bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground." And so on and so on. Okay. On the note of names here, so in my annotated version, it mentions that Cain is used in Hebrew also as a common noun for lance. Lance, like the weapon.
Oh, right. Okay.
And lance. And in allied languages for smith. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, there's some connection to, I guess, tools and, like, tilling the ground or something.
Yeah, being functional.
Yeah. Whereas Abel does not really seem to have any connection in the old Hebrew that we can trace back for sure.
Right.
Yeah, the name, however, may not be Hebrew, and is sometimes connected with the Assyrian Ablu or Aplu, son. Yeah. But so I was thinking in English, right? We say someone is able or unable to do something, right?
Mm.
And in this story, Abel is the guy who's like he's able, right? Like
Yeah.
he is like a better worker, or like his sacrifices are accepted by God.
Mm.
So is there a connection there, or is that coincidence?
Oh, I have no idea.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's not at all related to the Hebrew, but I guess it's more English, right?
Yeah. But I mean it. That's yeah.
Yeah,
That's a tough one.
that's a tough one. Yeah, I like to think of it that
Do
way.
we have any entomologists?
Yeah.
Etymologists. We need some help. But that's. I mean, you can definitely draw the comparison.
Okay, so what do we know of Cain and Abel?
So I mean, well, these are like the first people who were born, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is significant. Yeah, and from the beginning, they're born and they have these functions. Abel is like a shepherd. Cain is I guess, a farmer, worker of the ground.
Mm.
So I guess like looking at this, the way that like this story, I don't know, the way that I've kind of been like, we've been discussing this, and the way that I've kind of been thinking about this is how does this represent norms that we have about the way people exist, and the fact that these people are, the first thing we know about them before we don't even learn about them being children. We just learn about them being born and then being
Right.
like farmers and shepherds,
Right.
which are obviously like very important roles for the time
Mm.
and still now even. But there's this like big emphasis here on work, I guess. I don't really know how that connects to anything else like right now, but I feel like that might be something to like bear in mind.
Yeah, fair enough. And I was also thinking, yeah, I forgot what I was thinking.
Well, I guess one thing is that like, if you're working, you're able to give something. You produce something, whether it's like you have your sheep or you have the fruit that you make. And in this story, it's like they have things that they can give to God. So it like makes this immediate comparison between your work and your duty to God, right?
Right. Okay.
You're like a.
And it's also the punishment that
Yes.
humans got,
Sure.
right? To have to work.
Yeah.
All right. You said they're the first people who are born, right? So Adam and Eve were made by God.
Yes.
Right? So to answer the age-old question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? The Bible says the chicken.
Yeah. Good point.
So, if any Christians out there struggling to answer that one, there you go.
Drink your drink, Phil. Drink your medicine. Yeah, no, it's a good point.
Okay. Obviously, big thing about Cain and Abel is that, they both make sacrifices for God, or offerings rather, and for no apparent reason, God rejects Cain's offering, even though he's, I guess, the eldest, the firstborn, but accepts Abel's offering.
Yeah.
Now to put, we have God here, we have offerings, all this like religious language. To put this, I think, into a more common sense, like life lesson. The world is not fair, right? And then later we have Cain rising up in wrath and slaying his brother Abel because he's jealous.
Yeah.
Which, later we have the 7 sins and so on. So I guess jealousy would be one. Yeah, I think the main lesson is that, the world is not fair, which is a pretty reoccurring theme throughout the Old Testament. I think also the story of Job, is it? It's probably way later, but Job is that guy who like he's like very wealthy and everything's going great for him, and then like everything just goes to shit.
Yeah.
Like everyone dies and all his business like goes to shit, and there's no reason for it at all. But he doesn't forsake God, he's like the good example, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Cain is like the bad example, right? So the world is not fair, sometimes for no fucking reason at all. And what you cannot do in the face of that unfairness is to, I guess, to pity yourself, to feel sorry for yourself, to feel jealous, to blame other people, and to, you know, become resentful, because that will only make everything worse, right?
What I find, so you say like the world is unfair, but in this story it's not the world per se. It's that might be the lesson that you're learning from it, but
Yeah.
where it's specifically God who is saying, like, who is rejecting
Right.
Cain, right? And it's also well, yeah, we can get to that, but you know, which the idea that there is someone who is there is a thing that is intentionally preventing you from getting the same treatment that someone else would be getting. And I feel like that's, I mean, that has very different implications than just saying the world is unfair, right?
I don't know, because I feel like we can just replace God with fate or destiny or the powers that be, or really just like, you know, any like conception you have of why things happen.
Yeah.
And whether you're Cain in this story, or you're a Christian today, or you're an atheist today, sometimes you just face a really shitty situation that other people around you don't. And you feel like, why me? Why does this happen to me? That's the wrong approach, is what the story is telling us. Right?
Yeah.
And whether, you know, you can, like, why has God, from the Christian would say, why has God forsaken me? You know, I haven't done anything. I've been a good Christian. I've put my offerings. I've worked. I've tilled the ground. So why me? Right. I guess if you don't believe in anything, maybe it's easier to accept that the world is unfair.
Yeah. I just think it's it struck me when I was reading this, like, I've never read any like Christian or, you know, Hebrew text or anything before, and any really religious text, but so my idea of what God is has often been like, you know, something along like fair treatment in some way, like to all people, or like
Right.
Definitely not characterized by this sort of like completely, like, just completely unfair from the outside, completely unfair treatment.
Oh yeah, the fucking Old Testament God is cruel, dude.
Yeah, absolutely cruel.
New Testament Jesus God, he's merciful, but Old Testament God is fucking, he's a bad bitch.
And also, just, yeah, like, it's thinking like, why, yeah, and in a positive way as well, you know, like, we'll get to Noah, but like, he's just like, oh, everything's gone to shit, I'm going to choose you. You're going to be the guy that survives, like, you and your family. And, you know, with Abraham as well, it's like, I like you, like, you're good.
Yeah.
So this kind of goes against a lot of the God as something that's personified. When you like personify this thing, it's like suddenly it feels like, you know, imagining bargaining with nature or something, which is something that you just know you can't do.
Yeah, I think it doesn't seem super useful to me to read these texts and try to extract from them some kind of image of what God is or why he acts a certain way in a personifying way. And maybe that's why for a long time, you know, I think it's don't quote me on this, Catholic Church, where it was prohibited to make images of God.
Right.
But more so to understand what it means to be human and to understand the actions of people. And God is just kind of the powers that be.
It's a kind of proxy for that.
Yeah, nature, randomness, fate, destiny, whatever, God, whatever you want to believe in.
there is another thing that kind of I feel kind of complicates things as well, as God says. So after Cain gets really angry after God rejects his first offering.
Yeah.
Or he says in my text it says the Lord had for Cain and his offering he had no regard. And he says to Cain, "Why are you angry and why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you not do well, blah blah blah." But the idea, yeah, if you do well, will you not be accepted?
Yeah.
Like, if you do well, you will be accepted. Which we know in this case is not true, right? Like, or we kind of assume that this is not true. Like, the way that the story is presented, we don't think of Cain and Abel as producing like different quality or different value things necessarily, right?
Yeah, this line, if you do well, shall you not be accepted? It feels like it's kind of the inner voice that you have in your head when you try your best and it still didn't work out, right?
Yeah.
It's all like whatever, the American dream, blah blah blah.
Yeah, exactly.
But
if you work hard, you'll get it.
At some point in your life, you'll find yourself in a situation where even though you did your best, things just won't work out.
Yeah.
And then you will like, this word, like, it's almost like God is speaking to you. It's like this kind of unfairness of nature of being itself. Right?
And this kind of like reminds me a bit of the whole like Sisyphus thing. Like when you get to that point, like what do you do? Like, are you just gonna be like, this is all part of like God's
absurdity?
Plan? Yeah, right. But like, I know I did my best, but I wasn't accepted. I didn't get what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I may never do that. So, like, what do you do? What do you do with that? Like, the answer here seems to be, all you can do is accept God's judgment. I think, right? Like, and
well, maybe the test for Cain was this, right?
Sure, yeah.
And if he had tried his best regardless, maybe things would have worked out for him.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah. The test itself could have been how would this person handle not being.
Yeah. If you do well, you will be accepted. If you don't do well, you won't be accepted. That's what he's told, right? Here's your chance. Okay, I'll kill my brother. Well, you didn't do well, son.
That's true, yeah. That's a good point. I was going to make a bad joke. Never mind. But, yeah, no, I mean, he says if you do well, but he doesn't really say what doing well is, right? And yeah, like maybe I think what you're pointing to is this idea that maybe the test was that maybe don't kill your brother, and then we can talk about like, it should be quite a simple thing to do, but apparently not. So yeah, okay. So what happens next? Cain he kills his brother Abel. And then God gets very angry, and he curses Cain. And Cain is a worker of the ground. And God says the following: "When you work the ground, it shall no longer yield to you its strength. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth." Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me today from the ground, and from your face I shall be hidden. I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." And then the Lord said to him, "Not so. If anyone kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken upon him sevenfold." And the Lord put a mark on Cain, lest any who found him should attack him. Then Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. So, there's like, This is, I guess, kind of an interesting contrast because like the punishment here is quite resolute, right? Like you will be a wanderer. You will have no place, or at least you won't be here for now. And we know that he settled somewhere else after, but
so humans first generation ate the fruit, fucked up, exile. Humans second generation killed the brother, fucked up, exile.
it's a lot of bug fixing.
Yeah.
But then there is some kind of like again this sort of unfair treatment, which takes a positive turn here, where he's like, anyone that harms you will be punished sevenfold.
Yeah.
Which is also this like, I don't know, it's a sort of twisted like compassion, which seems quite characteristic of this like.
Right. Well, it's the whole made in the image of God thing, right? And I also like how this is written in my translation. So God says, "What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now cursed art thou from the ground, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto you thee her strength."
Sounds hardcore.
So we have all this imagery of the people made from the ground, right?
Right.
Made from the earth, and now, the blood goes into the ground, and the ground itself forsakens Cain, whose role is to be the tiller of the ground.
Yeah, right.
I like that.
That is very cool, yeah. So, I mean, that's the whole idea of being a loner and a wanderer as well. Like, it's material this material of which you're made is also kind of against you.
Right, and, the ideal, if you think of, like, simple peasants at the time, I guess, it's like, you settle down somewhere, you have a little farm, you get sheep, or you till the ground, and you stay somewhere, right? But if the ground itself doesn't lend her strength to you anymore, well, now you're a wanderer. You have to just, like, go and eat berries or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and I think the significance of that at the time is, like, also... Right, like far more than it would be today. Like the imagery of the ground and the imagery of the land.
Like today it would be like, you said a bad word in the company and now no one will hire you. The words of "Karen, you slut," which you yelled through the hallway itself, have soaken into the concrete walls of the company, and now the company itself forsakens you.
Yes, sure. I was thinking more like, your smartphone will never scroll when you want it to scroll again. Because we live in a society.
You can't use the internet. Okay.
Jesus.
Not yet.
Stay tuned. Alright, so now we have... So Cain is the kind of... He's the only link to the rest of humanity, right? The rest of a lot of the humans in the story come from Cain.
Right. So here's our first dilemma, right? Like, what the fuck? So there's Adam and Eve, and there's Cain.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and now Cain has a wife all of a sudden.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Where's that wife coming from, pal?
Well, no, I think, and later on as well, we have like this, Abram's family, whatever. And then they go to Egypt, and there's the Egyptians.
Right.
It's like, where the fuck did they come from?
Yeah.
Which I think, those obvious inconsistencies are kind of a hint at, like, this is not meant to be a literal thing, but more like understand about what it means to be human, right?
Yeah. I still think it's really fun to try and interpret it literally. As literally as you can, and, like, see, where these inconsistencies lie, and what kind of like jumps you're expected to make, or what kind of assumptions you're expected to make. Yeah. But yeah, so Cain somehow finds himself a wife, and has his son Enoch, has a city also called Enoch, and then we have a bunch of other people, a whole like family line being born.
And this guy bore this guy, and this guy bore this guy.
Yeah. And then there's a whole other chapter of that as well.
If you're
And
ever
include-
looking for like fucking original as fuck Bible names for your children, check out Genesis 4.
If you're having trouble sleeping, check out Genesis 5.
Just a bunch of fucking names.
Bob lived 105 years and he fathered and lived after he fathered 807 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of were 912 years and he died.
That's the thing, right? These people are living like fucking 900 years.
Yeah, that's another thing, yeah. Anyway, yeah, we know they would have been like living to like 25. And they've been like 3 foot tall. That's where the word, the term small king came from. Actually.
Okay, shut up.
First came was in the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, where are we now? We're getting to Noah basically, right? So,
Well, okay. Before that, we have this guy Lamech, who has 2 wives, which is interesting.
right.
I don't know why that's emphasized. Like we have like this guy bore this guy, and this guy bore this guy, and this guy bore this guy, and then there was this guy who had 2 wives. It's like maybe he wrote this.
This Lamech like writing the Bible, like, and then there was Lamech who had amazing hair and 2 wives and a Ferrari.
His balls were huge.
He had ginormous balls.
The editors were like, "Nah, we need to cut this down."
They kept the 2 wives, but
Yeah.
they're like, we'll give you the 2 wives, but we're taking the big balls out.
So Lamech, he says, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a man for wounding me, and a young man for bruising me. So he killed 2 people. And continues, if Cain shall be avenged 7-fold, truly Lamech 70 and 7-fold. Okay, so we have an emphasis again on this idea that yes, sin is bad, but revenge is worse in a sense, right? You can't kill someone out of revenge, or the wrath of God will come upon you 70 and 7-fold.
Right.
Which, okay, if you think of like little excursion here, if you think of like fucking Sicilian mob, like blood revenge shit, like just killing each other for like eternity.
Yeah.
Like, you killed my son, so now I kill your son, and now I kill
yeah.
It just like that is kind of what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
Revenge itself is like paying like making it worse 7-fold.
Sure.
Because obviously, if you then kill a guy, then their people will kill you, and then their people will kill you.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's kind of illustrating the idea that revenge just is this chain of awful.
Yeah, for sure. And the whole idea is this like. It's quite interesting the way that this is set up, because it's the idea of like revenge is like it's described as this almost like this tool that is, or this like program or something that's like applied by God to try and stop revenge. It's like you kill someone, now you have this thing, this like tag over your head.
Yeah.
So when people see you, they're like, "Oh shit! Like I can't do this now because it will like have implications for me." Which is, again, it's interesting because it's not God trying to intentionally prevent revenge from being enacted in the first place, because at the beginning it's like you can't do that, and you can't anticipate that, but that if someone has done something through revenge like Cain did by killing his brother, you know that there is room for revenge to multiply again through someone else. So, it's kind of interesting that it's like the way of preventing it is by signaling, not by punishing the person who did the revenge, but by signaling to other people who might want to go and enact revenge from then on, that they would be putting a target on their own head, or rather, they would be taking on that, like, that, I don't know how to describe it, that mark. But then, the question is, like, what is the punishment here, really, though? Because, like,
Well, for Cain, it was exile.
Okay, sure,
For Lamech, dude, he was just, his balls were so big, he just got off.
His balls exploded.
Yeah.
But no, so yeah, if the punishment of Cain is to be banished, then we'd imagine that Lamech is much worse.
Well, I guess so he says, I have slain a man for wounding me, and a young man for bruising me. So it seems like he was attacked and defended himself.
Yeah.
But killed them in the act of, I don't know, maybe you can, like, this is not a court case, but
yeah.
It's, he didn't kill someone out of resentment, it seems.
Yeah, maybe. But
like,
I mean, it could have been like out of pride, because it's,
Yeah, true.
Like it could have been a completely unjust reason, and I think it is. It sounds like, at least he seems to believe that it was unjust.
And it's also him saying that he will be avenged 17 sevenfold. It's not God saying it this time.
True, yeah.
Maybe God is like laying off at this point. Humans do their thing for a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it was like just in some way. Again, it's like, it's so hard to understand why this was written, specifically this section, why this was put in, and like what kind of significance it has. It would be interesting to learn more about Lamech. Anyway, so
Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son.
Yeah,
I'm gonna use that. Excuse me, milady. May I know you?
May I know you? The worst you can say is no.
Could we get to know each other?
Awful. Yes, let me know how that one works out.
Oh, I will let you know.
Oh God. I'm now Phil's wife.
And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and she called his name Seth. Right.
Mm-hmm.
For God hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, for Cain slew him. And it goes on. Seth has kids, and they have kids.
Yeah.
And we have a whole little family tree here in my book.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Genesis 5 is a description of all of the descendants of Adam leading towards Noah. So this is what we're talking about. This, like, it's long, it's dense. You read it and it's like, okay, I forgot all that now. But we get to Genesis 6, which is leading up to an important story, the story of Noah. And the title of Genesis 6 in my version is Increasing Corruption on Earth. So basically gets to a point where the wickedness of human beings, as well as the interference of these things called the Nephilim, cause God to create evil and corruption on earth, and ends up with God regretting the situation that regretting the circumstances that he's allowed, or he's permitted to exist. So he decides that there needs to be a purge, and he chooses Noah for that purpose. And so, at the very beginning, it's like I guess maybe the significance of this Lamech thing could be that, you know, just a reminder that, or like trying to instill this idea that people very routinely make bad decisions, and the humans on Earth maybe even don't learn from their mistakes at this point, and or at least they don't they don't see in Cain how to improve themselves or how to not act, and these like tools that God's tried to create to prevent these things, like the sevenfold punishment, doesn't really work.
Right, because these are all the children of... No, wait. They're not all the children of Cain. They're... Oh, God. Because they had Seth.
Yeah. Seth, so Adam fathered Seth.
Yeah.
And Seth fathered Enoch and blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah,
yeah.
leading to Noah.
Okay, Noah is the last son of Lamech.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So interesting part here. Genesis 6, the first line.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the ground, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God, these are the cherubim we talked about last time, the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all that they chose. So we have angels doing it to the human women.
Right, yeah. Doing it too.
My book says, marriage of the angels. Certain angels marry women, and of these unions were born the ancient heroes.
Yeah. Ah, right, the ancient heroes, did it say?
Is what it says, yeah.
Ah, okay. Because that could be the Nephilim, right?
Maybe.
So, as I mentioned earlier, this term, the Nephilim, and this translates to giant.
Right.
And there's like kind of seems to be some contention about what the Nephilim exactly were, and they have a very, very, very small role in like the canon, like Bible, but they seem to be like humanoid kind of giant creatures that, and I think there are two main ideas. One is that they are kind of some earthly thing, and the other is that they're, I think, fallen angels, or that they maybe have some kind of angel status. So this idea of angels marrying humans and then having children through them seems to be like maybe supportive of this idea of the Nephilim as like this connection between heaven and earth. And this might be one of the reasons why like God decided that a purge was necessary, because it seems also in the story of Babel, like when humans reach too far towards heaven, God's like, nope, we don't need that. And he...
True, but why is it like... It just seems weird that the sons of God, the angels, right? Not titled angels here yet. But,
Right, sure.
That they come down and take human wives for themselves. Like, is that an indictment on part of the human wives or on the...
I mean, I don't think. I mean, given the context in which this is written, I don't think these women would have had any control over who they married, right?
I guess not.
And also, I mean, in my book it says they took as their wives any they chose.
Right. So, but it's like humans are sinful, so they're not perfect. But why would the angels do this?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. That just seems weird.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like, this book is like changing a lot of my conceptions about what I imagine these like these like things to act like angels and God and even humans really. Anyway,
maybe they were like really hot back then.
Yeah, hot 3 foot tall humans, adult humans that lived to 25. I don't know. I'm probably completely wrong on that. I don't think they were 3 foot tall. I'm kind of joking, but shut up.
Stop digging that grave.
So, anyway, there is also this idea that these Nephilim were. There is some connection for sure, because they said the Nephilim were these. So it says the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. Yeah, it's kind of really unclear, but yeah, again, this is like a very, 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 even like incredibly deep niche field within people that study the Bible. Anyway,
true. Anyway, Earth is really evil. People are evil. God regrets making people. So he wants them gone. But he likes Noah. Noah seems nice.
Yeah.
For whatever fucking reason. Maybe
Yes.
he's just a really virtuous boy.
Yeah. And again, we have this idea of regret as well, which is, when you think of God as like a literal thing, it's hard to imagine. Or if you think of it, if God as the world, how do we imagine the world regretting something?
Yeah.
Or nature regretting something? But yeah, like you said, leaving that aside and just thinking this we can think of these things in the world as occurring because of a kind of humanoid thing, having intentions and making decisions, but this can help explain why things happen. That's the whole function of it, right?
Okay.
So now, he says, we have Noah. He has found favor in the eyes of the Lord. And so now we are in, the story of Noah and the flood. And Noah has 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And so, where are we here now? God said to Noah, so, we have all this context of growing evil on earth and violence and corruption. And God says to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood, make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and out with pitch. And then he gives some very specific instructions on how to make the ark. Set the door of the ark on its side, make it with lower, second, and third decks, blah, blah, blah. Loads of quite specific instructions. And he says, take yourself, your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives with you, and of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of birds according to their kinds, and of the animals according to their kinds, of every creeping thing of the ground according to its kind. 2 of every sort shall come into you to keep them alive. Also take with you every sort of food that is eaten, and store it up. It shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. Okay.
So, in my translation, a footnote says 2 of every sort. In the primitive document, there are to be 7 or 7 pairs of the clean animals and 2 of the unclean. According to the priestly writer, the distinction between clean and unclean animals was part of the revelation made to Moses, and therefore could not be known to Noah.
Right.
So I guess they changed it around at some point, but it's interesting to think of clean and unclean animals. like, which ones, like, because we think of animals, they're all just kind of, at least in God's creation account here, we have humans who rule over animals, but animals are just kind of one category.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
And then there's the serpent, I guess.
Yeah. But we do have, the birds, animals, and creeping things do occur in this in
they do, but
as well, right?
but yeah,
and also livestock.
It's interesting to think about clean and unclean animals.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what the difference is?
No. Maybe it's like useful for farming or something.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably to do with maybe domesticated animals and undomesticated animals, or
But you wouldn't think of a pig as a clean animal.
Exactly right. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. Apparently, pigs are actually very clean.
Maybe a pig wrote that.
Lamech wrote it. I heard ginormous balls are actually really clean. Wait, Lamech! Damn you, Lamech!
Need to stop trusting that guy.
It gets me every time, man.
Fucking Lamech told me to buy Bitcoin and now here we are.
Lamech bought me to buy hojicha from the combine and mix it with milk. Now it looks like cum. God damn it. Lamech!
Okay.
Okay, cool down, boys. I don't know.
You alright?
I'm okay. Okay, so this is this is significant because this is the first covenant we have with God as well, right?
Okay, well we'll get there.
Okay.
So the flood, right? Fucking everything's underwater for like.
No, hang on. No, I mean before the flood.
There's a covenant already?
Yeah. So the covenant with Noah is this covenant of.
Oh, that he'll be alright if he.
Yeah, you'll be okay if you do all these things.
Okay.
If you bring all these things, and Noah did that, and I mean maybe we can bear that in mind and come back to it later when we come to the other covenants. But yeah, there's bargaining, right? And there's these. Well, there's not really bargaining because Noah can't do anything about it. But these like striking deals, with people.
Right. Okay. Okay. So the flood. There's water now. Yeah. So coming back to last time, the creation account. We had life springing from water, and now we have water taking everything away.
Yeah.
Which I think is an interesting image. Like you would think, I don't know, if the flood was just like indefinite, that would be new life from the flood, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's like quite long because it says what does it say? It says like the 60th year or something.
It's 40 days and 40 nights, I think, right?
Well.
Oh, hang on, no.
No.
The storms are 40 days and 40 nights. The rain that comes, it happens over 40 days and 40 nights.
So it says Noah was 600 years old when the flood was upon the earth.
Mm-hmm. The sentence before that explains the 40 days and 40 nights thing, but 17th day of the month.
Because when the water goes away, it's the 61st year in Noah's thing.
Oh, hang on, no, it says also here the flood continued 40 days on the earth. The flood subsides. At the end of 150 days, the water had abated. And in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat.
And then?
At the end of 40 days. Okay, I think...
and then it's like at the end of the 2nd month of the next year.
Yeah.
So it's like basically a fucking year.
And it's like 40 days later, and then 7 days after that time, and then 390 days after that, and 150 days before that.
Literally, it's like, and in the 2nd month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, What? Okay, I got it. Was the earth dry?
Yes.
I think it's like basically a year, the whole thing.
Mm.
There's like floods and storms and whatever. But how does Noah know? This is a big thing, right? Also in like Italian paintings and shit. How does Noah know that the flood is over?
He knows because of the dove.
Right. So he sends out a raven to look around and a dove.
Mm.
And the dove brings back, and this is a huge fucking thing,
Yeah.
brings back an olive branch.
Yes.
Because apparently olive trees don't grow in like mountains. They only grow in like low areas. So if the dove can... Oh, you have
I have olive branch right here.
Olive branch in front of us. Wow.
Yeah, I was going to give it to you later.
Yeah. I wonder why we use it as a sign of peace. Like the dove bringing olive branches, like a sign of peace.
I don't know.
I guess it's like the war is over, the flood is over, right?
Yeah.
Like we have the saying, to extend an olive branch to someone.
Well, because that's it. It's normally extending the olive branch is to resolve a conflict between two people. But in this case, it's more like the idea of peace on earth, as opposed to violence and corruption from before.
It's like the conflict between God and humans.
Maybe, yeah.
So
Maybe
really, when you say to someone extending an olive branch, it's super fucking condescending.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But then there was also never any conflict between God and Noah, right?
True.
But yeah, I don't know. Again, specifics kind of hard to talk about sometimes.
Okay, well, and then he sends the dove again, and the dove doesn't come back.
Yes.
So he's like, all right, it's safe.
This could have been a bad mistake. It's like, oh, the dove hasn't come back? That's definitely a good sign.
I mean, okay, you would think that when you're in a boat on the water, you would realize when there's no more water.
That's true, yeah.
By looking around.
It's a really big boat. It's such a big boat. Maybe it took so long that fucking Noah went blind at that point. He was like 900 years old.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay, cool. So the flood has subsided, and God says to Noah, "Go out from the ark, you and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you, of all flesh, birds and animals, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may swarm on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth." So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, and every bird, everything that moves on the earth, went out by families from the ark. What do we have to say here? God has done the hard reset.
New World Order.
I don't know. I think
the globalists.
The idea of like the image of the Noah's Ark and like everything coming from the Ark is like, I don't know. It's so often reused in like science fiction, like coming up from a spaceship onto a new planet, or like that kind of like thing starting afresh. Yeah, and that kind of like optimism, I guess.
Well, I like so what's the next covenant? God promises Noah that from here on, because Noah is a good boy, there will be no more floods, no more hard resets.
Yeah.
And yeah, the earth is safe to populate now. And to remember this covenant between Noah and God, he makes rainbows.
Yeah.
Which is cute.
So cute.
And I remember actually in like our local churches in Germany, there were a lot of paintings like Noah's Ark with the rainbow.
Right.
And I never knew why.
That's a good point. Yeah. Now you mention it.
Yeah. And now we know.
Yeah. I wonder if that also has some connection to like stained glass as well.
Oh yeah.
Right. Maybe there's some connection there. It's obviously super significant in churches.
Yeah, also you have to imagine like um, like being like a primitive human in the olden days, seeing a rainbow.
Yeah.
And like it's like this weird thing that seems like you can go there, but if you go there, it's not there.
Sure.
So it seems like the perfect thing to make like some kind of godly promise, right?
Yeah. That's a good point. And it comes after the storm, right? That's also like
right. Yeah. After the rain.
After the rain.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Wow. Shit, we're making moves here, big steps.
Yeah. Biology 101.
We're climbing those steps 2 steps at a time. Here we go.
So enthusiastic.
Am I sounding really mute? I'm really mute. I'm enthusiastic. It's just my voice. Okay. So God also ups the bet a bit, and he blesses Noah, and says to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground, and all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered." So, yeah, this is a really, really, like, hard reset. It's like, again, we can't really talk about the intentions of God here so much, but, like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know, help me out. He's...
What?
I don't
know what you're trying to say, so I can't help you.
I don't know, I guess I'm trying to connect it to Cain, like, it was, like, characterized by punishment, whereas here it's, like, characterized not by that, but by, like, promises of the best kind of possible circumstances to live in. I don't know if that really has any significance anywhere else, but...
Well, yes, Cain did bad, so he got punished, and Noah did good, so he got rewarded.
Yeah.
If you want to make it real simple. Okay, well, what's interesting next is, of the 3 sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is the father of Canaan, which I think is a country or a region. Region, right? And it's like emphasized a lot here for some fucking reason, but it'll come up later. And so anyway, Noah, he becomes a husbandman. He plants a vineyard, and he drank of the wine, and he was drunken.
Yeah.
That's my favorite passage.
The author was drunken when he wrote that.
I'm going to quote that while I take a sip of my shochu. And he drank of the wine, and he was drunken. And he passed out in the tent, naked.
As you do.
And his son...
Sounds like being a festival, bro.
Oh my god.
Sorry. So what did Ham do?
Yeah, so this makes no fucking sense to me. So Ham goes into the tent, and he sees his father naked. And he tells his 2 brothers, Shem and Japheth, and they then take a garment and cover up their father. And their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine, and he knew what his youngest son had done unto him. And he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren." And he said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of..." I have no idea what the fuck. So, why can I not see my dad naked? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. Well, they also didn't see. So Ham...
Yeah, so the 2 who did not see were not cursed. The one who saw was cursed.
But hang on a second.
Cursed be Canaan. The explanation that the guilty Ham was the father of Canaan is not adequate. This short poem, the original meaning of which is considered below, cannot have been the original close of the story. The compiler of the primitive document may have felt that the filial conduct of Shem and Japheth would explain the blessings upon them, and then did the best that he could to explain the occurrence of Canaan instead of Ham. I have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Because it says in my version that Ham, who is the father of Canaan, sees Canaan's nakedness.
No, they see Noah naked.
Oh, see Noah's nakedness, right?
Yeah.
But it's just Ham that sees Noah naked.
Yeah, and Ham gets punished for it.
But it says, "Cursed be Canaan," not cursed.
But Ham is the father of Canaan.
Yeah.
And Canaan is not a person but a country, apparently.
Okay.
This is honestly the most confusing part of the whole thing.
Damn, man, maybe I should write my own Bible.
And okay, yay. And the footnotes say basically the text is inconclusive.
Right. Okay.
Which, maybe not to dwell on this too long, but
I mean, it's still, there's a lot of themes of like nudity and nakedness in the Bible. So
right, this is again going back to Genesis, right?
Yeah.
I guess the one point could be, it's like the compiler of the permit document may have felt that the filial conduct of Shem and Japheth would explain the blessings upon them. So basically, they covered up their father, but Ham just fucking told them about it. He didn't do anything.
Right, sure.
So maybe he's like useless or something. I don't know.
I see what you mean. Yeah, sure.
Noah was like, "How dare you look at mine cock and not cover me?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a good point. Canaan doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything for you.
Just like, hey boys, he's naked in the tent.
He's pitching a tent. God enlarge your path.
And thus enlargement porn was created.
I've seen those pop-up ads.
Beautiful.
And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. And all the days of Noah were 950 years. And he died.
Wow.
Wow, and that's the end of Genesis 9.
Yeah, great. So now we have Genesis 10, and this is the nations that descended from Noah. So the generations of sons that come from Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And again, this is another really, really long...
Japheth, oh, that's how you say it. Okay.
Really, really long, dense little section, just giving all the names of people. Do we have any significant names coming out of it? I don't think.
Do we have Gurgashite yet?
Gurgashite.
Did that one already happen?
I think that's yet to come.
That's it. Okay.
Hopefully, yeah. Good.
It's my favorite name.
Well, it's funny. Like you say that. Like reading this, like there are so many names that like if you want inspiration for even like a science fiction story, just fucking go to Genesis. And there's some good ones like Cush as well. There's a guy called Cush.
Oh, Ashkenaz? Isn't the Ashkenazi Jews, is that a specific thing?
It must be, yeah.
It says Ashkenaz, probably a people occupying part of Armenia. It is mentioned in blah, 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 in connection with Ararat and Minni. I have no idea. Like,
I didn't think Ashkenazi Jews were from Armenia, but I have no idea. So,
yeah, if you're looking for names like to name your child, dude, this is sweet Genesis.
Do you want to call your son Kittim? It's actually a pretty badass name. Anyway, so where we get to now, Genesis 11. So we've learned about all the sons of Noah, and now we are at the Genesis 11, which is the final really important story of Genesis, the Tower.
Oh wait,
Babel.
before that, So at the end of Genesis 10, we have Girgashite.
You really wanted to talk about Girgashite.
No. And
Dickler. We have Dickler as well.
So Genesis 10:19 is, and the border of the Canaanite was from Zidon, and as thou goest toward Gerar unto Gaza,
Right.
as thou goest toward Sodom and Gomorrah,
Mm-hmm.
and Admah and Zeboim unto Lasha. Anyway, place names, and let's just remember Sodom and Gomorrah for later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if these are actual like places.
I think they do have some connection. Yeah.
Well, I mean Gaza, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Gaza is the thing.
I can't remember what I was reading it, but I remember reading something fairly recently about the connection between these places and real places. It's there are people who've tried to map it out.
Interesting. Okay.
So anyway, Tower of Babel. So at this point, you know, whilst we acknowledge there are all these different places, we know at this point that everyone in the world speaks one language. And you know, this is significant because it's well, there's a lot to talk about here. We firstly have this, again, going back to this idea of like how language is created and like how we know language, how we understand languages today.
Yeah.
And like, you know, how language develops compared to the idea here is like, you know, there is chaos now. You know, this is chaos, and it's not like it's like these are almost like pre-existing things that and we just have, I don't know what I'm saying here. They're like pre-existing names for things, if that makes sense.
What are these?
Like, for example, when it comes to talking about the animals in the beginning of the story of Eden, it's like taken as a given that these things have the names that they have, rather than that they, you know, the names for these things rise out of, you know, tens of thousands of years of interaction between different languages and whatever, and development of language. But nevertheless, you know, up to this point in the story, everyone on Earth speaks one language, and what is the benefit of this? Like, or what is this allowing humans to do?
So they build a big tower. They all cooperate.
They cooperate.
They all cooperate. Oh my god, I can't say it.
they all cooperate.
Corporate. Beef up corporate. They all cooperate to build a big tower.
Yeah.
Which reaches almost to the heavens. So God is like, no, I'm gonna confuse you all, make you speak different languages, so you can't do this shit.
Yeah.
And now you're gonna roll your eyes, but
okay. I'm gonna have to bleep this one out.
As a libertarian,
as a 14-year-old child,
shut up. This is a clear attack against central planning. Okay.
Okay.
Like.
Okay.
If humans all, because we have this idea of, if only we can all work together, and if we can all organize into one big mensch, into one big fucking Thomas Hobbes Leviathan.
Yeah.
If we can all organize into one big state, into one big all fucking governmental machine, we can do amazing things, and we can even rival God.
Right.
No.
Right.
Don't do that. Maybe not. Maybe you're all better off in your own local communities.
I mean, well, this is also like an anarchist position as well, right?
Yeah.
But I think, let's talk about that for a second. I hadn't thought of it in that way. I mean, I thought of it more as like when I was reading it, I was thinking less about the less about like the idea of humans believing that cooperation is possible, but more like again this sort of like punishment where we're condemned to always having these issues of issues of understanding between people, and like I mean the language is definitely the way that it's expressed here, but really I think the idea is that like the possibility of always being able to guarantee cooperation between people is like made impossible, or made at least much more difficult, because with language it's like you can just learn languages, right? But the idea here is not that you can't learn languages. The idea is that you can't learn to communicate. And
yeah, I mean we can take language here as a metaphor for just really cultural differences or differences.
Yeah. But I mean, even then, you can learn those things. You can like figure them out.
Well, can you? Like you as an individual, you can, but can humans? Because it's probably been like fucking 3,000 years since this was written, and we're still having like war between Russia and Ukraine, war in the Middle East. Like, apparently humans can't really figure this out.
Yeah, but then I mean, at the same time, like the fact that we live in a country that's like all the way on the other side of the world, and there are so many even though we live in a very different place, there are so many very, very fundamental like cultural systems that we can understand and appreciate.
Fair enough.
Like etiquette, for example, and like trade. And
I know
like
you
that.
really like ramen, Nick.
Shut up. No, but I mean that. Like,
no, I get it.
It's not the case of like
Star
Trek where you're like that this alien species will never be able to understand you, and in a way, that's like there is kind of maybe danger in that kind of thinking, that like these people aren't like me, they may not be human,
right? Well, it's like racism basically.
yeah and the cause of a huge amount of conflict.
Well, I guess the question is, why is the Tower of Babel bad? And why is human cooperation bad?
Well, at the beginning, this idea, when we think of God as like this humanoid thing, or this like anthropomorphized thing, he doesn't want humans getting to heaven. Specifically, he doesn't want them, and that's why he destroys the Tower of Babel, which sounds like again, like we're talking about the story of Eden with the fruit. It's like he doesn't want humans getting that.
I don't think it makes sense to personify God here and think
sure. I know we've already talked about this, but
I know,
that's one way of looking at it.
I think the point you're trying to make is probably more like this is bad. Like God is not questioned. God is right, like a moral set of values. So in my footnotes it says the Tower of Babel, mankind settled in Babylonia as a single community, speaking one language. They proposed to build a city and a tower that they may keep together, but Yahweh, lest they should become too powerful, makes them speak different languages so that they cannot understand one another, and scatters them over the face of the earth. Hence the city was called Confusion, Babel. Right? To babble.
Exactly, yeah.
It's really interesting.
Thanks for that, man.
Well, alright, fuck you. Fucking apparently ancient Hebrew scholar Nicholas.
I feel bad, the light in your eyes when you said to babble, you were like, I'm sorry.
No more light. Just like in this fucking room.
We're living like fucking mid. What's the fucking word? Not middle aged. Fuck it, doesn't matter.
Okay,
Bible time.
but point is, God doesn't want humans to become too powerful, or rather, they don't. It is one like organized entity within society being too powerful is bad. I think that's the proper way of looking at it. Like a sort of like, because nowadays we think of, oh, we can all come together, different culture, different languages, diversity, blah blah blah, and we can all become one, and it's beautiful, and let's all smoke weed and listen to John Lennon. But imagine there's no okay, but here it's framed as a bad thing, and I think the point they're trying to make is kind of not like, I know like my own political biases and so on, but it is kind of a like jab at like big government or something like that. Like, you know, like you can't like everyone coming together into like one big entity of a state, of a community, of a city, and trying to do these huge fucking projects. That's just not desirable.
Yeah, sure. I think
because it's not really emphasized here, but you lose the individual completely, right?
Well, yes, but also the idea that like when you have like a huge mainstream, or a huge like when this, I guess mainstream could be a word that we could use here, but like the like mainstream conscious or mainstream like accepted like ideas or culture or whatever is so big and so unified and singular, then anything that sits outside of that, it sits outside in a way that stands out very, very strongly. And yeah, I guess the intention, maybe we can talk about intentions of humans here, because like, the intention is always like, let's build this thing to incorporate as many people as possible. But then, the idea is like, it's all about assimilating, and like assimilating these fringe elements into the whole, and that happens in so many different ways, which are, like you said, destructive to individual culture, and smaller group cultures as well, right?
Like unity is quite scary, right? Because unity means you're with us or you're dead, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
And when I think of like, so let's try to abstract this idea of the Tower of Babel. So we have humans quote unquote working together, working as one, accumulating architecture, I guess, art, and trying to rival God. Denying God, or not specifically denying God, but trying to like reach like up to God. The first thing that comes to my mind is like World War II shit, like be it like like huge fucking architectural projects in like Nazi Germany, or like trying to accumulate all the artifacts from like ancient Greek,
and like the Lebensraum as well, like trying to accumulate different territories and stuff like that. Trying to expand influence, trying to
make it all one language, make it all one.
Controlling culture and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure.
Because it's just really not emphasized here in the text at all. But obviously the reality is that humans are different.
Yeah.
So nothing could be more exclusionary than quote unquote one language, so-called unity. Right?
Yeah, and I think that the thing here specifically is the idea of like intentionally building, like the intention part, rather than there being like a natural process of like, if we live in two separate villages and we trade with each other, we'll probably end up like copying some things that we do.
I like this pro-capitalist reading.
No, but I mean, that's not necessarily like any kind of interactions between people. Wouldn't necessarily like, there would always
spontaneous be interaction between individuals.
Exactly, there would always be this,
like the market.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
There would always be this like, you know, yeah, this possibility for things to just this different kinds of movements to happen. And yeah, like when you think about all like so many like and like colonialism as well, right? Like a lot of colonialist projects were like massively subsidized by states and stuff like that, and the cultural part of that is super interesting too, like how you know, through like architecture in different countries around the world, in the, like colonialist countries, like how certain buildings were made in certain ways to replicate those values of the colonizing country,
Right.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
And so there were many different nations, which all are the sons of Noah. Cool. That's Genesis 10. Should we take a quick break here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Be right back.
Boys.
Okay, we're back.
We're back with Genesis 11.
Yes, we got a coffee in hand. Let's go.
Coffee in hand, let's go. So,
Finish Babel.
So Abraham was born, which is a thing that we should acknowledge.
Yeah, so this is like the transition now to the it's called the patriarchal age, which is the second big section, right, of Genesis, and it starts with Abram. Who is Abram?
Abraham is the son of Terah, and Terah is the daughter of many other people before her.
Yes, and you say Abram, not Abraham. Right?
Oh, right. Abram, yeah.
Abram does become Abraham
Later
on, and Abram has a wife called Sarai, who becomes Sarah later on. And these are new names that are decided by God, and I guess we'll get to that at some point. So it's not really immediately clear why Abram is significant, but nevertheless, God calls to Abram at some point.
So on the note of the name of Abram, probably understood by the priestly writer as lofty Ram, father Ab, i.e. the great ancestor of Israel. The word is, however, a form of Abriam, the father is the lofty one, where both elements are divine titles. A corresponding name, Aburam, is found in Babylonian and Assyrian. Many scholars hold that Abram, at any rate, with Abram, we meet a real historical personage and are not merely reading the history of a people.
Wow, okay.
For the form Abraham, see on page later. Okay, yeah.
So we might potentially be dealing with a real person at this point. And I get that makes sense, right? Because this, the patriarchal age of Genesis is supposed to be, describing this great family lineage that can be traced back to today. And we have like the Jews being chosen. I think we'll get to that today.
We'll get to that later, yeah.
So yeah, this idea of like heritage and lineage and stuff is really important. So as I said, God calls to Abram, and he says to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." And so Abram goes with his brother's son, right? Lot?
Yeah, with his brother's son, which seems kind of an arbitrary choice, but whatever.
Yeah.
Note that Abram at this point is already 75 years old. And so this kind of Abrahamic story of, God calls to you, get out there, go basically have an adventure, right? I'm on your side, I'm going to help you out, but, get out of your father's house. We've talked about this before, but this can be kind of seen as an archetypal adventure story. And small tangent. In Japan, there's this really like popular genre of like fucking like neat. What is it? Neat NEET.
Right.
Not
sure.
in education, employment, or training. Like just people like living in their fucking mother's basement. And then they get transported to a different world and they have an adventure and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think basically the Abrahamic story is such a fundamental like archetype of human stories, like guy living with their parents. In the story he's old. With the Japan thing, it would be like they're basically the losers of society.
He's old, but I mean, within the
right, that's kind of within the age
the Bible age thing,
yeah.
It's like kind of dog years
because
in a way.
People get like 900 years old apparently.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily about being in like a like low, being in like a disadvantaged position, but it's more. In my mind, it's more just about the idea of setting off in any kind of way and having an adventure.
Yeah, because he's comfortable where he is, and he doesn't have a great time at first when he leaves, right? He encounters a lot of hardship.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I think is maybe goes against that interpretation, the fact that he brings his wife and his brother's son with him.
Yeah,
right. Normally, it's like characterized as like a very, very individual thing.
Yeah.
This like that idea of leaving and having your like coming of age moment or whatever. But again, we're dealing with lots of different factors here, and it's hard to know what information to prioritize. But
very, very fair.
Agree. There's a strong. You can definitely interpret it in that way. I think. Yeah. So what happens? They reach Egypt eventually, right?
This
do. Is quite a significant part. So I don't think Lot is with them at this point, but they go to Egypt. So Abram and Sarai, and in order to protect themselves, protect Abram specifically, they pretend that they are brother and sister, and they say that they meet someone and they tell them that if the Egyptians find that you are married, they'll kill Abram and they'll take Sarai. So they enter Egypt and they pretend that they are brother and sister. And then what happens next?
Well, the Pharaoh,
yeah, the Pharaoh sees them, right?
The Pharaoh, or the Pharaoh's henchmen see Sarai, and they think she's really pretty. So they tell the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh takes her as wife.
Yeah.
And then the Lord is not happy with this. First the Pharaoh gives Abram a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Sheep and gold and lots of riches.
And servants.
But the Lord plagued the Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife?" I mean, I kind of feel bad for the Pharaoh here, right? He married this girl, and then he finds out she is already actually married to someone, and somehow he's being punished for it.
I know. And Abram's just like, oh yeah, he's taking that sister thing to the grave. Like, he's like, we have to, in order to survive, in order for me to survive, we have to pretend that you're my sister.
I think Abram has like a big cock fetish, and he just does not want to disclose that.
It's possible, yeah. Well, we're really bringing this into the new age, breathing new life into the Bible. Abram the cock. But no, like, it's just like, at some point, maybe you should like have given up the act and be like, oh no, I don't know. But survival, baby.
So anyway, they kick Abram out, and his wife as well.
Yes.
Out of Egypt. But he gets to keep all the shit he got from the Pharaoh.
So it goes from like being like, if they know you're married, they will kill you, to they found out you're married, plus you got all this other shit.
You literally hoard out your wife for money. And now the guy who you tricked gets punished by God, and you get to you get your whore wife back, and you get to keep the money. They kind of lost me with this one. I don't know, man.
I don't know. So what happens next? So they go,
and Lot is back.
Yeah, Lot is he's for some reason appeared again. They carry on moving, right? They carry on traveling, and
well, so they find some land, and eventually the henchmen of Lot and the henchmen of Abram, they have a little strife, and they fight verbally at least, and so to settle this, they decide that they're going to part ways.
Yeah. And they separate and make two different territories.
Yeah, so I think Lot gets the left side of the Jordan River, which, you know, it's like depending on where they're standing, left could be east or west.
Yeah.
And Abram gets the other side. And the people from Lot, they eventually settle all the way to Sodom.
Yes.
Which is a city.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, it says Lot journeyed east. Okay. And Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan.
Yeah, which is from earlier, right?
Yeah, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain. And moved his tent as far as Sodom. Okay. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners against the Lord. It just doesn't say in what way.
Yeah. But Sodom is a bad place. It's said right, and so Lot is settled in this area, and God takes issue with this place, right?
Right, and well, I guess also to note here is that Lot, like when they decided that they had to separate, Lot chose the obviously better side of the Jordan River, the one that's more like developed and fruitful. So God basically gave Abram this like chance, like go out there and have your own land, and then Lot took advantage of it, for which he's, I guess, kind of punished in a way, like, you know, like not directly by God, but like being in the city of the sinners.
Right. Okay. So you're given these options, and you choose this one, which is
you choose the obviously better one. You give Abram the shit one.
Yeah, or better in the sense that it's more prosperous, maybe, but not in the sense that it's the maybe more morally virtuous, whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So.
Okay. Many kings, many cities.
Yeah. Lots of stuff.
They have a war. So we have King of Sodom, King of Gomorrah, King of Admah, King of Zeboim, King of Bela. So the Salt Sea, cities around the Salt Sea, they all have a war. 13 years. But eventually the war, like some people get defeated.
There are various battles that happen and various winners and losers. And Abram also gets involved and brings his forces.
Right. So
and he defeats them as well.
Well, yeah. So someone takes all the stuff from the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah and all the people hostage, I guess. And Lot, Abram's brother's son, lives there. Yeah. So Abram hears this, and he's like, well, I have to help him. So he sends his 800 men to free Lot, and they do so. And they're also very generous in this. You know, they don't take like unnecessarily like do whatever raiding or looting or anything like that. They're like, we're only gonna take what's necessary for us to live. You know? Okay.
Cool. Okay. Now, we have so you said it's like a tenth of everything, right? And that's the thing. I would not take a thread or a sandal strap or anything that is yours, lest you should say. Maybe that's unrelated. Anyway, we have the second covenant, Genesis 15. So,
so the Lord comes to Abram with a vision. What's that vision? The vision is that the Lord will protect Adam as a shield. And Adam is unhappy because he is childless. He can't have children with his wife, Sarai.
His wife is what's the word? Sterile? What's the word?
Yeah.
His wife can't bear children.
Yeah. And he's not happy about that because he's getting old.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Lord is like, no, look to the stars and you will have children. Don't worry.
Don't worry about it, bro.
Don't worry, bro. And Adam does this little offering thing. He gathers some animals. What is it? A she-goat, a ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he does like a little blood sacrifice, creepy Satanist shit.
Cuts them in half.
And falls asleep. And the Lord is like, you will be blessed with your seed will be blessed. To bear fruit. Yeah.
But he also says that he says, know for certain that your offspring will be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and will be servants there, and they will be afflicted for 400 years. But I will bring judgment on the nation that they serve, and afterward they shall come up with great possessions. It seems like quite a significant line.
What do you make of it?
I don't know. I was kind of thinking of the. I don't know much about the foundational Jewish story, but being chosen, and this idea of the Jewish diaspora moving from place to place,
right,
seems to be a common theme in
true
Jewish culture, and that's kind of the extent that I really know. But
I guess at this point they're not technically the chosen people yet.
No, they're not for sure. But I mean, he's talking about your offspring in the future. Right?
Okay, so anyway, his wife Sarai still cannot have children. So what they do is she has this Egyptian handmaid who's a slave.
Yeah.
Called Hagar. And so his wife is like, well, if you can't have children with me, why don't you have children with my maid? Because that's a good idea. And I'm not going to be mad about it.
Yeah.
So then Abram has children with the handmaid, who is a slave, so she's basically ordered to do so.
Yeah.
And then his wife is really angry because, of course. Thou art responsible for the wrong done to me and ought to suffer for it. Sarai blames her husband for the consequences of what she herself has asked him to do. A phenomenon not unknown in monogamous households. Is that what it says?
Wow.
That's what my footnote says.
Fucking 1960s edition.
The special features of the case, however, illustrates the drawbacks of polygamy.
Right, sure.
So, Mormons get fucked.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this whole thing is like the idea of like when you like think, oh, yes, I can have this certain kind of relationship, and then you try it, and then jealousy gets the better of you.
Yeah. We're gonna have an open relationship. Kill yourself.
Don't say that. You have to fucking bleep that out. In Minecraft.
Go commit die in Minecraft.
I don't know. I mean, as a piece, you know, this is like a teaching. Obviously, it makes sense that this would be put this way. And
so anyway, the wife gets really angry, and she chases the maid away, and the maid runs away, and God talks to the maid, and it's like, what's wrong? And she's like, well, you know, all this shit happened. And the Lord said unto her, I will greatly multiply thy seed, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and they shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. Right, so this is actually the first time, I think, that we encounter the word angel. Angel of the Lord. So in my translation it says, the term angel, literally messenger, occurs here for the first time. These messengers often appear in the form of men. Nothing is said as to the origin of these beings, and attention is directed to their functions rather than their nature.
Okay.
So we had the sons of God, the cherubim.
Yeah.
And now the angels, the messengers, are different, right? They're actually men,
and they have more of a function.
Yeah.
And Ishmael as well. It's like this means God hears, right?
Yeah. So Ishmael means God heareth. Ishmael is the eponymous ancestor of a large number of Arabian tribes.
Okay.
So yeah, it's literally like God hears of your affliction, right? And he also says that Ishmael basically will have a little kind of tricky personality. He's gonna be a little selfish, and he's gonna have to like take the things he wants. Yeah. Ishmael is maybe on the spectrum. Who knows?
Yeah. The first autistic person.
Yeah.
Created by God. Hell yeah. Okay, so yeah, we have Ishmael, and right now we reach the covenant of circumcision.
So when Abram is 99, God speaks to Abram and is like, well, you know what? You're gonna have children with your wife. Right? Is that where we are?
Yes, I think so.
So yeah, he makes a covenant, another agreement with Abram.
Sorry, the birth is promised in the next section, but
okay.
But yeah, the idea is like he comes to Abram and he says, my covenant is that you will be the father of a multitude of nations. And here, Abram becomes Abraham, and so God changes his name. He says, your name shall be Abraham.
Right.
For I have made you the father of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make you into nations, and kings shall come from you.
And my footnote reads, the change of name is a sign of the covenant, a token that the patriarch enters on a new period of his life, in which he is to enjoy higher privileges. For Abram, there is no certain explanation of the form Abraham. Probably it is only another way of spelling Abram.
Mm.
The text indeed explains Abraham meaning the father, Ab of a multitude, Hamon of nations. But this is impossible as an etymology. It does not account for the R. So yeah, basically we don't really know why the name turns out this way, but yeah, just it's different now.
Well, I mean, if you think about it in terms of what you were saying earlier, this like story of growth, I guess we could interpret it in that way. Like Abraham it's like when you return after this big adventure, you become someone new, or at least you have some kind of thing of marking how you've changed. And we're saying that God is giving this name to him, but if we think of God as less of a personified thing, then it's like the experience that he's gone through has created
right.
Out
he
of
has
him.
grown. Okay.
And even the fact that the idea that the pronunciation would be the same is kind of interesting there, because it's like if it was like Abram to fucking Michael or something, then it's like
yeah.
But the idea that it's just the way that you read it that has changed, maybe, or yeah, it's cool. Anyway, so
and also his wife's name's changed from Sarai to Sarah.
Yes,
which means princess.
So, which also it's not mentioned to the next section, I think, but obviously this is the main bulk of the covenant is that quote, every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskins, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. He who is 80 days old among you shall be circumcised. Every male throughout your generations, whether born in your house or bought with your money from any foreigner who is not of your offspring. Both he who is born in your house and he who is bought with your money shall surely be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh, an everlasting covenant. Any uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. I love that. Any uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh
I know.
of his foreskin. Like, okay. They like really wanted to make this clear. They're like, where did Lot go? Like in that whole chapter. We're not going to say that, but circumcision of the penis, the foreskin of the penis, circumcised, cut, penis, foreskin, circumcised. And if it's not circumcised, of the penis with the foreskin, then...
You mean uncircumcised?
As it uncircumcised of the penis foreskin, then it's like, okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we have two mentions here of like pretty like solid affirmations of slavery, right? So
yeah.
Earlier we had the maid.
Yeah.
Harag, I already forgot her name.
I think it's Hagar.
Oh, G and R switched, whatever. Hagar.
Yeah, Hagar.
Basically, we have God being like, well, you kind of got to do what your mistress told you, so, or the angel, or the messenger rather, and here again we have like any son of your flesh or bought with your money.
Yeah.
So obviously through like Americans gonna be triggered right now, but slavery has been the norm for most of human history.
Right, sure.
Completely unrelated to race.
Yes.
It was just a thing. Which was really normal, and it's pretty normalized in this text as well, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, literally having fucking children with your slaves.
So, yeah, one little side note there.
Wow, enlightened.
Well, no, because it's always like, yes, there is something about Christianity and the idea that man is made in the image of God that gives every single human being so quote-unquote natural rights.
Yeah.
And in that way, Christianity during the Enlightenment, early Enlightenment, has been a force against slavery, but also it is pretty normalized in the original text.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Right, and so another thing is, God says Abraham will have a child with his wife Sarah, even though they're like in their fucking 90s.
Yeah, well, 90s.
Yeah, and so Sarah is like, haha, like she laughs, right? She's like, yeah, me having a child at this point, yeah, right. And so the child shall be called Isaac, which means laughter. Which is kind of this foreshadowing of like, yeah, haha, we're gonna have a child even though we're old. No
Right,
way.
yeah.
But then it's like, oh, a miracle. Anyway, but Isaac he's only prophesied at this point. He's not born yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else on this point? Right, so then Abram is circumcised in like his 90s. Fucking his first son with this.
It's gonna be a lot to circumcise if you're 90 as well.
Yeah.
Jesus.
God, don't say that.
Gonna be touching the floor by that point.
Ishmael is circumcised at 13. And yeah.
Yeah, all of the people,
all circumcised.
all of the men in his house are circumcised. Yeah.
Right, and now Genesis 18, pretty bizarre thing, because we always think like in the New Testament, right? Jesus, at least in the Catholic reading, Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? Is one thing. God, Jesus, the Holy Ghost, they're all the same thing. God became flesh.
Yeah.
Well, in Genesis 18, God actually becomes a dude who walks around. And he walks up to Abram and is like, hey. Which is kind of weird. But, actually, there's 3 dudes, and one of them is God.
This is God and his mates.
God and 2 other random dudes. And, like, literally. And Abram was like, oh fuck, it's God. So he's like, wife, make food, make cake, make bread. Oh right, and then this is this whole thing with Isaac and haha, right? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so yeah. To quote one little thing that God says here, at the set time I will return unto thee, when the season cometh round, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh.
Fucking owned. Sorry, I'm not really providing much commentary here. I'm kind of lost now. So, going back to talking about Sodom, where Lot is, we have, this city of, like, crime, and it's an awful place, and God doesn't like it very much.
Right, so God is like, I'm gonna destroy Chicago and Detroit. I mean, Sodom and Gomorrah.
Bro.
What?
What are you... I'm editing now.
What? That one?
So God says at the end of, towards the end of chapter 18, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sin is very grave, I will go down to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry that has come to me, and if not, I will know. So
the cities are personified, crying out to God that their inhabitants are sinful. And Abraham is very worried because obviously Lot lives in Sodom. So he asks God, what if there's like 50 dudes in Sodom who are righteous? Would you still kill everyone?
Yeah.
And God's like, well, if there's 50 dudes, if I get there and there's actually 50 dudes who are righteous, then I will spare the city. And then Abram is like, what if there's like 45 dudes who are righteous? And God literally goes this fucking slow in the text. And God's like, well, if I get there and there's 45 dudes who are righteous, I'll probably spare the city. And then Abraham says, what if there's 40 dudes? And then this continues until 10.
This is how to slow down God so you get everyone else out of the city. It's like God's like, 30. Yeah, I guess if there was 30, I'd probably be okay. 29?
Literally haggling with God.
29. Let me think about that one for a second.
Yeah. So they have this whole dialogue, which I guess is to illustrate the mercy of God.
I don't know.
Because Abraham says that to slay the righteous along with the wicked would be against God's character.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's significant that Abraham is the first. He's actively bartering with God at this point, which we haven't really seen before, right?
True, and
is probably representative of the power that he's gained, or like the status that he's gained through his whole like journey, right?
And we'll get to Israel later, but apparently Israel literally means to wrestle with God, something like that.
Yeah, of course. There's that, because there is the wrestling. They do wrestle at some point, right?
Yeah, so we have in Abraham already this like the chosen people, right? Mm-hmm. The chosen Jewish people, they're kind of bartering with God here, and they're not exactly questioning him, but they're having a discussion about like God is righteous, so wouldn't it be wrong to slay the wicked along the righteous, right?
Yeah,
not to just blindly accept everything, but to
almost to show the teacher their own teachings, kind of thing, in a way, to show the ultimate righteous thing, ultimate righteous thing to do. Or
it's kind of like rabbis arguing about the interpretation of the scripture.
Yeah,
that's what I picture here.
But it's also not. I don't know if it's clear that. I don't know if it's necessarily clear that God would have wiped away Sodom and Gomorrah completely, all upon like arriving to those places, right? Like I don't know if it's Abraham intervenes, but whether if he didn't intervene, like what would the outcome be?
Yeah, I wonder.
But I think definitely the real significant thing is the idea of someone having this dialogue with God, and almost it's kind of like challenging him in a way. Yeah.
So anyway, 2 angels go to Sodom. They find Lot and they tell him, God is gonna destroy all this, so you get out of here. And so they did.
Yeah. So, and next what we have?
And then the cities get destroyed, right?
Yeah.
And so Lot and his 2 daughters, they run away to the mountains.
Yeah.
And this is fast forward a bit, but
this is the most significant bit, I think.
They run to a cave, and they live in a little cave in the mountains. Bit Zarathustra-esque.
Yeah.
And his daughters are like, so there's no more men, but we are like, we gotta continue the species. So we're gonna just make daddy drunk, and I'm gonna fuck him in his sleep. No. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. So they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him. And he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. Why is this a problem now? Like, with this fucking God of an Eden, man, like, what do you expect?
Well,
it was such a drought of, like, just a drought of people at the time.
So I guess the reason why the daughters thought that there's no more men is either because they're just so secluded in the cave, or because they thought that, having God destroyed the city, so there's no more
Mm.
men, right? Did he actually destroy the cities? I didn't really.
Yeah.
Okay.
God destroyed the cities of the valley.
Okay. Anyway. Yeah, this is the first like implicit or like explicit mentioning of incest.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not really like framed as a good thing. Because
No,
why
it's
else
not
would they
at all.
have to make him drunk and
Yeah.
probably fucking Lot wrote this. And Lot did not know when they fucked him. Lot Lot had no idea when they lay, and Lot had no idea when they arose. And then it happened again the second night, and
And then the morning after, and then in the kitchen, in the goat stable.
Lot was completely unaware of this.
And the God took great pity on Lot because of how unaware he was.
And I will have my lawyer handle the rest. Poor Lot was raped by his daughter.
Poor Lot got stuck in the washing machine.
Oh boy.
Okay, so back to this. That's the end of chapter 19, and then we from then we go into the.
Does God note anything here about the incest thing?
No, I mean up until Genesis 20, we have so Moab is born because of that whole affair.
Right, Moab is like an incest baby.
Yeah, he's the father of the Moabites to this day, and the younger also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the Ammonites to this day.
Also interesting, we skipped this, but the way that God destroys Sodom and Gomorrah is by raining brimstone and fire from the heavens, which is, I guess, how people always imagine what is the book of the Bible that's like weird, where the end of the world.
I don't know.
What the the rapture? What is it? There's like with the writers, I don't know.
The writers.
Isn't there like the last? Don't quote me on this. Isn't there like one of the later books of the Bible where the world, where it's like the prophecy of how the world is gonna end and it's gonna like rain fire and brimstone.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot
that rings a bell.
I forgot what it's called, but yeah. Yeah, just a little note in here.
Yeah. Okay. And so from then on, we haven't got to this section yet, but we have the birth of Isaac, and we have Isaac becomes a really important character later on. But yeah, let's call it a day for now. And so, what are your thoughts so far in this like second section of Genesis?
Well, we're still mainly talking about human nature, about family, about the relationship between man and woman. I think that's kind of the biggest theme so far.
Yeah.
How odd men and women behave toward each other. There's some little hints at like society, not really a government, but like at how to organize society. We have Babel and all that.
Sure.
Yeah, if I had to draw any big lessons, it would be from Cain and Abel. Don't resent the unfair distribution of resources in the world.
Yeah.
Or don't pity yourself.
And at the very least, don't resent other people, right?
Yeah.
For whatever circumstances happen to be favoring different people.
Well, here's a quick. Can you pity yourself without resenting other people?
I don't know. Can you not?
I mean, theoretically, Because what happens if you pity yourself? You've like you acknowledge that there's an injustice committed against you. I feel like that automatically has to result in resentment.
But I don't think that necessarily implies resentment to other people, because it's not always a case of people's actions that lead to them being in better circumstances than other people, right? It's like, how am I can I really resent another person for being born in a country that's richer than mine, for example? So I think you can feel pity towards yourself without feeling resentful to another person.
Yeah, you certainly can in theory, but it's probably pretty hard.
I don't know. I mean, it depends. Like,
it's like, yeah, can you feel like you've lost a game unfairly without resenting the winner?
I mean, well, that's the whole idea of like sportsmanship, right? I think
you can acknowledge that you've lost because of your skill deficit or whatever. But if you think that you've lost unfairly, I don't know. I feel like there's resentment baked into that already.
Yeah, I think people, but the idea of being a good, like having good sportsmanship is like, basically just accepting those kinds of outcomes, right? And I think that works on the assumption that, also not always, but in a way sometimes works on the assumption that people will also recognize that in you as like a good quality. If you are able to accept defeat even when you might feel, or even when it actually is, there is like an injustice towards you.
Yeah. I have to think about that for a bit, but
yeah, I think it's like but then I again, it's like, is that just resentment that's dealt with well? If that makes sense.
What do you mean by that?
As in, like, would you naturally tend towards resentment in that situation and learn to like control it, learn to like try and avoid feeling like that, or learn to see how it's unproductive,
right?
And try and work away from it.
Fair enough.
Or is it something that some people kind of maybe more like innately feel, or maybe more naturally feel? I don't know. Yeah, I think it can also be cultural as well. That's a definite thing too.
Fair enough. Okay, classic discussion, nature, nurture.
Yeah, that can be part of it for sure, I think.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we have, obviously in the creation account last week, we had the idea of original sin, which is kind of a sin between man and God. But with Cain and Abel, we have really the first original sin between men, which I think is kind of like the cardinal sin. If I look at human history, like the spirit of Cain is probably the worst thing. Like when I think of the spirit of Cain, I think of uprising in Nazi Germany, people like, burning down the synagogues.
Yeah.
And like resenting their Jewish neighbors for having more money or something like that.
Sure.
I think of, the proletariat dictatorship. Wow, I can't say that. Dictatorship of the proletariat. Like whenever we like talking about corpses in the millions, there is the spirit of Cain involved in some way.
Sure.
I think, no way, jealousy and tied to resentment is kind of the worst sin among men, which then connects to murder and so on.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a sin, but like a motivation, because like murder, to kill someone is like an act, right?
Yeah, resentment itself is not an act.
It's not an act.
Or like feeling resentment is not an act. And again, like going back to the idea of like the sports analogy, like you can feel resentful for something, but still try and like work against that feeling, or try and like see past it and try and like put it behind you, or you know. Whereas like yeah, like in like Nazi Germany, like that the resentment towards Jewish people and like allowing that to build into real action and like real violence towards Jewish people, and then beyond just like, you know, the kind of like citizen uprising against Jewish people, which were obviously, you know, perpetrated by propaganda and stuff, but beyond that, also then the state apparatus like being mobilized against people, which is also justified by that same resentment.
Okay, so here's an interesting debate then. The feeling of a sin versus the act of a sin. So let's say you lose a sports match and you resent the winner for it. Does this make you a bad person? Versus you lose a sports match, you resent the winner for it, and you like break his trophy.
I think a bad person, right? Yeah. Maybe that's like,
or you've committed a sin.
Yeah. Okay. That's a more productive way of thinking about it, I think.
Okay.
Have you done a bad thing by feeling resentful towards someone who won, versus like,
is it only bad if you put it into action?
I am inclined to think that it's not sinful, or at least less sinful, to think it and not act on it.
Okay. So,
but
let's go a step
I also
further.
haven't thought about that this much, so don't fucking trap me if I've said something wrong.
Let's go a step further and say person X is really racist, and they really hate whatever, Jews, black people, pick your choice. But they just don't put it into action. They're always nice, they always say hello, and they always, haha, we're neighbors. But they actually hate them a lot. And they wish they wouldn't hate them, but they just do. Is that because of whatever, their cultural upbringing or their inherent bias or whatever?
Well, it depends, because like...
Is that sinful?
Okay.
I think it is.
When we think of like... I want to first like make a distinction here. Like, you know, typically when we think of like racist people who put on a front of not being racist, they'll act like that in public, but then in other more discreet ways, they will, you know, express that. Whether it's like, you know, they could be like voting for a politician that hates black people, for example, or that has like specific policies that target specific groups of people that they don't like. Which wouldn't be necessarily a direct like racist action, but it's kind of it's separated by some degrees, right?
Okay.
But it would still be
right.
I don't know.
No,
actually.
but I would count this, for this example, I would count it as an act, right?
Yeah, no, actually, I think it would, because again, you would be doing it. The same intention would if you want to bring this to a point, you could say, you know, you really hate Jews, so you vote for Hitler. Yeah,
but it's not a racist act.
but then it's the intention. It's like I voted for Hitler because I hate Jews.
Yeah,
like that would be the intention behind it.
Nice soundbite, by the way.
Gonna see that clipped in the future. No, but yeah, that wouldn't really work.
Because I would say, simply feeling resentful in itself is already a sin, even if you don't put it into action.
Okay.
The same way I think that, if you're in a relationship, but you think, like, about other women, men, whatever,
Yeah.
in a romantic or a sexual way.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, you're having sex with your partner, but you're thinking about someone else.
Right.
In the sense, like, that's also sinful, I think, even if you don't put it into action.
Are they as sinful, do you think?
Equally sinful?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
Because
Because obviously there's, you could say, like, quote unquote, no harm done, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can hate someone without killing them. And
Exactly.
obviously killing them is worse, right?
Or want to kill someone, not kill someone. That would be the correct thing to say, right? Yeah, they do seem very different. I mean, maybe the
But then again,
consequences, and also, like, for example, trying to kill someone or trying to cheat on your partner and failing, so you don't quite do it, but you you do the effort.
No, if you actually try it, then at that point you've basically done it. It's your own incompetence that just kept you from it.
Maybe, yeah.
That's like you don't get bonus points for low IQ.
No, I mean, well, my point is there has to be an outcome aspect of it, right? Like killing someone, taking life from the world.
I don't think morally.
Okay, right. Okay.
Like, I think if you try to kill someone and fail, and if you try to kill someone and you succeed, I think they're equally morally reprehensible.
Okay.
Even though there is a different outcome and damage done, though it's morally equally bad, I would say. Because the only thing that's separating is his competence.
Yeah.
So you don't really get bonus moral points just for being incompetent.
That's fair. So then we don't need to talk about outcome specifically. In fact, we can get rid of outcome when we're talking about this.
For me, yes.
Yeah, right, I see.
Because you can have one murderer who's really smart and one murderer who's really stupid, but they're both equally evil. But if you say, well, one succeeded in their murder and one didn't, and so he gets a worse punishment. I wonder how our current law system works actually about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, how would so, like, people have, like, intrusive thoughts, right?
Example?
Like, I think it's like a condition. I was like, came across it the other day. I didn't really look into it too much, but like, people who have like intrusive thoughts, like they'll meet someone and they'll think about like murdering them, for example, or like people who think about like committing suicide. Like,
how serious are we talking here? Like,
not serious at all.
Oh, okay.
Just literally just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, knowing that it's bad and knowing that you would never do it, but just.
Oh, I always think of the worst thing to say and do in every single.
And you fucking do it as well. But that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
How do you view that under this?
I mean, if you're not serious about it at all, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay.
If you bring, like, I think we talked about this in the Camus reading, in Sisyphus.
It's connected to Dostoevsky as well, I think.
But I mentioned, like, Camus talks about this idea of absurdity, that one day you just kill yourself because nothing makes sense anymore. But if you dive into like the psychological suicide literature, you'll find that like people who actually commit suicide, they have a very, very specific plan how they will do it, when they will do it. They've thought about it for months at least. They have like a specific method and everything is like perfectly thought out. Everyone has intrusive thoughts like, I wish I wasn't here sometimes. Things would be easier if I was dead, right?
Yeah.
But even if you're like serious for a split second, those kind of things don't really translate into action ever.
Okay, fair enough. The question there is then, how do you separate serious from unserious thoughts?
I guess it's
like you can unseriously I don't know. Like, think of like a light example. Maybe what's something that people like. I don't know. Maybe like even maybe like wanting to. I guess shouting at someone's not really sinful, but like.
Well, you can just sit down and ask yourself, do I actually want to do this? And the answer will be yes or no.
Yeah, I guess so. But then, is that how things ever really? That's like, if how can you if you've just like been in a competition in a sports competition and you lost unfairly and you know that, how can you in that split second sit down with yourself and be like, am I gonna feel resentful for this or not?
Well,
You know?
you can be like, fuck Jimmy, that asshole. He took the gold medal. I'm gonna kill him.
Mm.
And then you can like be like, do I actually want to take a knife, stab it into Jimmy's throat, and I'm okay with going to jail for that because I just hate him so much?
Mm.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Right? It's like I was just angry.
Okay, so let's say you're having sex with someone and you're thinking about someone else. Like, then you're having sex with them and you're like, oh, it's okay though because I wouldn't actually have sex with someone else. I'm just thinking about having sex with someone else. Like, how would that work there?
Well, I would say the thing you should do is confront your thoughts afterwards and be like, you know, do I actually like, is this actually what I want? Like,
Yeah.
you know, first of all, should I be having sex with this person that I'm having sex with
Mm.
if I don't actually think about them, like, you know, if I'm not actually in love with them, and
Yeah.
then, you know, the next thing you should reflect on is it okay for me to think about someone else while having sex with them?
Yeah. So, okay.
It's
So
like, yeah, I think self-reflection is really fucking powerful. We just never do it. It's like whenever I realize this myself when I'm just in my room doing absolutely nothing at all, like watching some retarded YouTube video, and you know, if I just ask myself seriously the question of, is this actually what I want to do right now? The answer would be no, like 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
But I still sit there and do it.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, literally. I was like, before you came over today, I remember like an hour before you came, I was like on my computer just watching some stupid ass videos, and like I made a cup of tea or something, and I just before I went to make the cup of tea, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start reading my book now because I actually want to read. It was a different book, but and then I made the tea. So I went to go and make the tea, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna read my book now. Hell yeah. And then I came back and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go on my laptop again.
Right. Yeah, I think if we had the power of self-reflection in a serious manner.
Yeah, and application of that as well.
Application, yeah.
There's some like discipline required in that. Yeah, if we'd figured it out, would be fucking ubermensch by now.
Well, yeah, it's like I guess this is a perfect example of what we talked about last time of natural impulse, like something being in your nature,
right?
Not necessarily being virtuous, right? What you want to do in this moment right now is probably not what you should be doing if you're being honest with yourself. Probably it's just we never are honest with ourselves, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you know, people have sexual needs and all that, but
with their sisters and
with their daughters. Not that they would be aware of it.
Just gonna intentionally get myself trapped in the goat stable architecture.
And she got really drunk. He didn't drink. They made him drink.
Yes.
They got him drunk, and so he.
God, we've come back into it.
Lot, fucking Lamech and Lot are the most like fucking cheeky little
Revisionists.
Revisionist history. Oh god. Okay.
All right. Yeah,
what did you think of it?
This
was all my answer.
No. Yeah. Where to start? I think you know, this story of Abraham has more there's more to take from this story than I kind of initially thought. And the Cain and Abel, Noah's Ark, and the Tower of Babel are all very like they're very short and they're very like isolated, and they very clearly like illustrate in like this sort of isolated thing like what is kind of trying to be said. Or they give a very clear base to start speaking about something. And these like Abraham, why does his name change? Why is circumcision important? Why, for example, is like slavery something that's so widely accepted, even though all humans are created in the image of God, for example. There are all these like platforms of discussion, but they're a bit more kind of hidden, I guess, in a way. They kind of are all kind of hidden in the flow of the story.
Yeah, I guess you kind of feel that you have to read this text in a historical context. So
yes,
topics that are explicitly discussed are viewed with a moral lens.
Yes.
Things that are simply mentioned are really not. So we have all these like Adam and Eve, after Cain killed Abel and so on, after Noah's Ark, basically there would have to have been a lot of incest, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's never actually mentioned.
Yeah.
And then there's the Egyptians all of a sudden, who just existed before apparently.
Yeah.
But with the Lot, we actually have a specific discussion of the issue of incest.
Yeah.
And then it's not really put into a favorable light. It's kind of shameful, right? So, I think with slavery as well, it's mentioned that it exists, and it's like, yeah, of course there are slaves, like duh, because there just is. But it's never explicitly discussing the morality of it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's important to be aware of, but it's like, I mean, it's a text that has these lessons in it, right? And like you can read this today and take something from it, whilst also recognizing that there are certain things that are taken for granted. With same with anything really, I think. What did I think of it? I guess I haven't really said that. I don't know.
Good one.
I think
professional book reviewer. How do you like the Bible? I don't know.
I think today, like one thing that I've like learned, at least in just like reading this book, is more to like the way of thinking about what God actually is when people talk about God. Like, I thought it'd be really interesting to like and make sense for me as well. I guess an approach that made sense for me was to approach this book as kind of literally as possible and try and find where these where these kind of breaks are and where these inconsistencies are, like with the slavery thing as well.
Yeah.
And where even just things like the narrative, like how were stories like structured, and like how are they told. And it's like this person's like 90 years old, and then you think like, is that just like a sort of dog years thing? Like this person's actually like 30 or 25 or whatever, and then you find out with like Sarah, she's like actually 90, and she's like, how can I have children? I'm 90, and you're like, oh shit, you're actually 90 years old, so you're like completely wrinkled.
Yeah.
You're all wrinkled by now. You're a proper old person.
I also do wonder back in the day, because there weren't really like state government taking records of everything. There wasn't really like, like an established strict calendar or like.
Yeah.
How aware were people of their actual age? I don't imagine a whole lot.
I think. Yeah, I imagine.
Like they would have to, like, I'm sure some people kept count, like, oh, it's winter again, means I'm 40, whatever. But I bet a lot of people had no fucking idea how old they were.
For sure, and especially when you think about, like, even just how would you, how important would that information necessarily be for you anyway?
Right.
Because,
if you're like in danger of starvation every day. Right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
and at that point, I think it would probably come down more to like your physical or your mental capacities, or all these different the ways that you work within a society. So age as a number itself probably wouldn't have been nearly as important. And but also I think you would probably measure it some like generationally, right? This child came before this child, so
Right.
we know that you're at least older than me because I was born before you. But yeah, anyway, the thing I wanted to say was that looking at the Bible and like the story of the Book of Genesis literally is very interesting. But I think today I've sort of started thinking about more of God less as a representation of this kind of specific like embodied thing, and more as a kind of force.
Yeah.
This omniscient,
order,
omnipresent thing. Yeah, order. And as a text, that's exactly what you want to achieve with an educational text, right? If you want to tell someone about the world and tell them how it is, you're like, there's this guy and he makes all the rules, and this is how things are.
Yeah. How do I know this?
Yeah. This was Lot, right? And that's this whole, maybe that's another thing as well. Having anthropomorphized things is maybe quite important, but then again as well, like the whole our idea of what God looks like, even being a man,
Yeah.
like having him being a him, like is very much influenced by like I guess like Western European like influence of within Christianity, and again with like angels. There's the whole like biblically accurate angel, which looks like fucking terrifying, like winged beast thing, which is like pretty fun, cool. But
would that be an angel or a cherubim?
No, I think an angel.
Oh, an angel.
Yeah, I don't know
because it says the angel. Oh, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know for sure, but I've
the messenger. Yeah.
They are like, but then again, it's there can be so many interpretations, but maybe that's like an important thing to bear in mind as well. Like, it might be something that's very the idea of God as this anthropomorphized thing. Maybe we could see that as something that's very specific to like Western European culture, like being something that's like embodied and something you can like see, or something that you can some big guy with a white beard.
Yeah, but that's all like that's pretty like pop culture. Because
I guess
within the church, that was not allowed.
Sure.
To personify God or to display, like, draw pictures of him.
But then you still have all these like beautiful paintings.
Michelangelo. Yeah, Michelangelo was a bit avant-garde. He was like a kind of rock star figure, very controversial.
Really.
But, yeah. But yeah, traditionally it was especially the Jews. Would not allow depictions of Yahweh.
Yeah, I definitely don't associate any of the depictions of God with Judaism.
Yeah,
and we never really.
And in a kind of primitive, childish sense, I always thought that it's like, what are they afraid that God's going to get angry?
Right.
I think reading this now, the reason is probably that it's actually not useful to think of God as a person with motivations and intent and anthropomorphized characteristics, but rather as a kind of general force and order of nature.
Yeah.
Of the reason why things are.
It's interesting though to think that they instead of just not anthropomorphizing God, they would specifically like outlaw or prohibit depictions of God, and it's the same in the Quran as well.
Right. Well, is not depicting God, isn't that in itself kind of building a Tower of Babel?
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, sure. Or I mean, but in the same sense, it's kind of like building something to destroy as well. Maybe we could think of it like that, because like when you think of this God as this, ultimately, essentially, in many ways unfair, but omnipresent, omniscient thing.
OP.
Yes, it starts so like it's just way OP. If you think of that, if you build your whole worldview around this thing that you can't really see and doesn't really have any form, then it's just like the world is always like that. And then, but like, how do you kill God? You create something to kill, maybe. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If God appeared as man in Genesis 19.
Yeah.
What would have happened if someone attacked him?
Yeah. That's why I had two guys with him.
Yeah.
Two bodyguards.
Two bodyguards. All right.
Yeah, it's a good discussion.
Yeah. I think, next time we're definitely going to finish this, I think.
Yeah.
But next time we're going to talk about, we're going to stay with the biblical theme. We're going to talk about Dante.
Yes.
And
not just talk about, we're going to read it.
We're going to read it. We're going to read Paradiso, which is, no, we're not going to read Paradiso.
No, Purgatorio.
Purgatorio. Which is the mid-section of the Divine Comedy.
Yeah. We'll have a guest as well.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have a guest. I hope that works out.
What's his name again?
I can't pronounce it. And see you next time.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.
Boys.